Hello, beautiful people. Welcome back to the Sports Ball Talk Show.
Hey!
I'm angry as well as Gian because last week NFL was not kind.
No,
I
not
went
NFL Vegas.
Vegas because the NFL is rigged. But the first time either one of us have ever gone negative with our predictions, we both went negative.
In the history of our show so far.
Ever, even including last season, we've never gone negative with our predictions.
We've never gone negative.
I went 5-7 and you went 4-8. So we both went negative by several games. It wasn't like,
It wasn't.
It's rough.
This was a horrible week for the both of us. Not to mention, I hated the outcomes of all these games.
Me too.
And there was a lot of. We'll get into that later.
Yeah, but we'll just break down the games, I guess, and what we think this means going forward based on, now that it's been 7 weeks, we can start getting a picture of where teams stand. So we'll start off with the Jags-Saints Thursday night game. I thought the Saints looked better on offense than usual, even though they lost, and it was because of their offense.
Right.
They scored 24 points, which they just don't do, the Saints. But the Jaguars obviously won 31 points. They're 5-2 now. Jags, I think, have gotten past their greasing the wheels stage and are now going to start playing, like they are a contender in the AFC. And then Chris Olave got arrested, so
that sucks for
everyone.
And Olave, come on, man, grow up.
Just driving too fast.
Yeah,
it wasn't a Henry Ruggs type thing. It wasn't
goodness.
quite to the Henry Ruggs degree.
Thank goodness.
But still,
because I like him. He's got 70 miles in a 35. I mean, that's a little more than what I've done, in all honesty.
Well, yeah, it's fucking twice the speed limit. But yeah, I mean,
it really is, actually.
This is one of the few games that ended as we expected, so not really much to talk about here. The Jags won. I think everyone kind of figured the Jags would win.
Right.
A poor defensive performance from the Saints, which is unlike we've seen so far. Their defense has been very good all season, but this just wasn't their game. But the Lions-Ravens was not what anyone expected.
I really hated that game. And look, Stu Feiner in the Barstool show, he called it all the sharp money was on Baltimore, which is really odd. Because going into the game, the line was 3.
Which was an odd line to me.
Which is a very odd line. And 3 in favor of Baltimore. Yeah, that makes sense. They're at home, which they're at a windy city, and they're just a good home crowd. But the Lions' defense was just
disgusting. Holding the Lions to 6 points, which, of course, the run game for the Lions couldn't get going because they have a lot of injuries back there. But still, the pass game didn't get going either. The Ravens' defense really showed out. Lamar Jackson is throwing his name into the MVP hat he's been playing good all season.
Yeah, and then this game, he really
scoring 38 points on, I think statistically speaking, the Lions have had the best defense through the first 7 weeks besides this game. So the Ravens putting up 38 points on that was huge.
Yes.
I think the Ravens now have to be taken more seriously, at least on my end and your end.
No,
I know other people have taken them seriously, but generally they're not being considered Super Bowl teams.
Because their players aren't all superstars. Look, we have OBJ playing great. He was fantastic, but he's got a triple ACL torn knee.
Yeah.
And he's been playing all right. Mark Andrews, he's been playing. This was the best game of the season so far for Andrews.
But he's been playing well.
Zay Flowers, he was playing pretty all right. He wasn't playing.
Zay Flowers did very well.
Yeah, it wasn't anything fantastic, but he did pretty well, especially against the Lions defense. Gus Edwards.
Oh, yeah.
Great game.
Gus Edwards had a great game.
Great game. Lamar Jackson, fantastic game. And these aren't, the supporting cast is great, but they're not Tyreek Hills.
Right. They're not superstars. No one you're going to consider a top 10 or even top 15 receiver in the league. And I think that kind of works to their advantage because there's not a guy who you're obviously going to go double cover. But at the same time, you also don't have any guys that are going to carry a team like you got guys like Tyreek Hill. But what I think happened in this game is the Ravens got up early and they just kept the momentum. Their Lions just could not get a stop when they needed to, and that's what I think did it. If they had gotten
penalties too, man.
A lot of penalties too, but I think that the momentum is huge in football. I don't think people really realize that, and I think that's what not just led the Ravens to win, because I think they might have probably won either way because they just were playing their ass off, but that's how they ended up rolling the Lions and just scoring touchdowns on every drive, scoring 38 points while holding the Lions to 6. They could just not get a breath, the Lions team.
No, they couldn't. Scoring
6 points in garbage time was just a consolation for them so they don't get blown out by, 38 points to 0. But
right.
And
side note, I do feel like the NFL dinks down whatever the number one team is. Yeah, I have been talking about this. You said that, actually.
I said this past week, and it seems like whatever team is being looked at as one of the best 2 teams going into this week, they lose. So it happened to the Lions. It happened to the Dolphins. It happened to the Eagles. It's happened to the Niners. It happened to the Chiefs in week 1 because although it was the week 1, obviously being reigning Super Bowl champions, they're the team to beat.
Right.
So it's happened to the best teams every single week where they just get beat. It's kind of nice because now you don't have just like a clear favorite, which I like. Like in the AFC, you've got the Ravens, obviously. You've got the Jaguars. You've got the Dolphins. You've got the Chiefs. You've got a lot of good teams. Same thing with the NFC. You got the Eagles. You got the Niners. Lions, obviously, still 5-2. And you got the Falcons, who obviously are going to go make a run here soon. Falcons could go undefeated the rest of the season and then go win a Super Bowl and go undefeated, and then Desmond Ridder gets MVP. But that's a future conversation for a future time. But either way, I think that what the Lions need to work on is taking a breath. I think it was more of just getting caught up in the moment and trying to play hard and playing with I don't know what the word is. They're playing with tension, if that makes sense. And if they had just calmed down, played smart, played well like they had done all season, and gotten one good stop to just stop the momentum of the Ravens, that could have been a very different game.
It looked like they let the game get to them. And being behind get to them, and it stressed them out.
Yeah,
and they just it caused a lot of rushed plays. It caused a lot of
bad throws.
Everything was just rushed.
Yep, and the Ravens were locked in clearly from the start to the finish.
And it only heightened the Ravens' focus during the game. So shout out, good job to the Ravens. Shout out to Lamar. He did fantastic. Played
his ass off.
He did. You got to credit where credit's due.
Yep.
But
moving on to the Raiders-Bears. Snooze fest. The Bears won. I mean, I figured the Raiders would win, but
not as much of a snooze fest because the Bears' backup actually played pretty decent.
Yeah, but he did. I'm not going to take credit anyway from him, but the Raiders do suck cock.
They do suck.
So, but what I did want to point out, interesting stat: the last time a Division II quarterback made it to the NFL and won a game was in 2010.
Yeah, so
it's been 13 years since that happened. So good for Tyler on the Bears.
Yeah,
good for him. I mean, a win is a win, even if it's against a bum team like the Raiders. It's not like there haven't been worse teams than the Raiders. So
honestly,
credit where credit is due. He played his ass off, scored 30 points, and the defense played very well, holding the Raiders to 12
with the supporting cast that the Bears have, and not even a single throw to Cole Kmet.
Well, it's funny too because he has a better win-loss record than Justin Fields by a lot, including just this season. He's just better than Justin Fields at this point.
He just is. He's 1-0.
Yeah, I mean snooze fest in the sense that it doesn't mean anything for either team because neither one of them are going to go on a run here. I don't think either the Bears or the Raiders are probably going to get their shit together and do much here.
But what if this is the turning point
for the Bears?
NFL script. They get this kid. They know
Brock Purdy part 2.
Part 2. They no longer need a tank for Michael Penix Jr. because you're not taking for
you're not taking Caleb Williams because he's a bum and doesn't deserve it and wants ownership of your team.
There's a video where we break that down.
Yeah, go watch it. It would be interesting. I would like to see them try him out instead of Justin Fields because, like I said, I think Justin Fields just overtrade him, bench him, whatever it needs to do. He's not going to go win you a playoff game.
Yeah.
Maybe Tyler can. I mean, who knows? I don't think he probably can. Of course, we don't really know.
You never know.
That's just my 50-50 guess. But I mean, it was I guess a decent. If you're a Bears fan, it was a good game. But in terms of watching that one compared to watching some of the others, it was whatever. But we'll move on to the Bills Patriots because this is probably the biggest upset of the week.
Yeah,
because I think everyone expected the Bills to decimate the Patriots, and the Patriots won 29-25. The offense was rolling, scoring 29 points, and the defense holding the Bills to 25.
Yeah.
Still a decent bit of points, but against a division rival, one of the most high-octane, pass-heavy, great dynamic run game offenses in the league with the Bills.
This is the downfall of the Bills.
Yes.
It starts from here.
Yep, and I love it.
Bill Belichick, congrats on your 300th win in the NFL.
A good one, too, against the Bills, who
I hate the Bills. So.
People apparently think are good. The Bills and the Falcons have the same record. Just want you to know that. Everyone watching.
And you know what? I think the Falcons are a better team.
I do, too.
No, not because they actually are, but because... Screw the Bills.
Yeah, the Falcons wouldn't have lost 29-25
no,
they wouldn't. The Patriots. So
no. They probably would have won 29-25.
Yeah, but in all seriousness, I think this kind of just takes the Bills out of division title contention. Not because it's not possible, obviously, because it is. But I think that some of these divisional games really show what you're made of against a more objective, fair line. And the Dolphins have been able to put up consistent numbers. They lost to the Eagles, which is some bullshit calls by the refs. Not entirely, but the Miami Dolphins getting penalized 10 times and the Eagles getting penalized 0.
Not to mention, Miami was playing with their third string lineman.
Right. But my point is, I think that the Bills really can't consider themselves top dogs in the AFC North or in the AFC East when the Dolphins are still playing their ass off and barely losing because of bad ref calls. Yeah. But you have the Patriots, who are probably the worst team in the league last week, just beat the Bills. So, good. I don't like the Bills very much. I'm not a Patriots guy either, but I just don't like people that like the Bills because they think that they're going to win it every year, but they don't remember that Josh Allen chokes every year in the playoffs. And so
he's choking in the season.
Well, that's my point. That's what I was going to get to. I think it's better for you guys that are fans of him now because you don't get your hopes up to win a championship game and then get disappointed. Then you're going to get disappointed now by not even making the playoffs. Right. And so it just saves you from the heartbreak of losing later on, which is just a net positive for you Bills fans because you aren't going to get there anyway. You might as well just not even try. Yeah, is what I say. But moving on to,
I say sell the franchise.
Might as well sell it to me for $1. I'll take him. The Commanders-Giants was an interesting game because it was 7-14 and the Giants won.
Yeah, and the Giants won on the last play of the game
with their backup quarterback.
I think like the Commanders couldn't make it in the end zone.
No, the Commanders. Sam Howell is on pace to be the most sacked quarterback of all time in a single season by a large margin. The offensive line is disgusting.
Yeah, that O-line is not
brutally horrible.
And look, it's not like the Giants D line is anything to write home about. They suck. Right. And they're
mid. They don't suck. They're mid.
They suck. They laid the number on Sam Howell, but that's just because his O-line are just made of twigs.
Well, yeah. His O-line is made of sticks, and that's why he scored 7 points and the Giants won. And
it's not like Sam Howell's a bad quarterback either.
No, he's still been putting up very impressive numbers for the amount that he's been getting pressured and sacked.
Right.
But the Commanders, some of the defensive players like Jonathan Allen, who's one of the best defenders in the league, been on the team for 7 years, said he's getting sick of this shit and he's sick of losing. And I think that might mean he gets traded because the Commanders, people thought they might go on a run at the beginning of the season when they won a few games, but now I think it's pretty clear that they're not going to do that.
No.
I say if you're the Commanders, go ahead and trade some of these guys like Jonathan Allen who are still in the prime of their career. You could get some really decent draft capital. Yes. And then Jonathan Allen might go to a team that has a chance to win. And he's a guy who's been loyal to his team for so long and gotten nothing but shaft after shaft after shaft. And I think he's a guy who kind of deserves to go somewhere that has a chance to win. So that'd be cool. I like Jonathan Allen. He's a good guy. Right. But either way, the Commanders scoring 7 points and the Giants scoring 14. Snooze fest. Neither team is going to really do anything this season. But, whatever. Giants won with their backup quarterback. I guess that's cool. Tyrod Taylor still got it. Falcons-Bucks. Obviously, I was very pleased with this game. They won 16-3.
Yeah, we watched this game, but there was a lot of stupid calls.
This game, my blood pressure was off the charts. The multiple fumbles on the 1 yard line by the Falcons. Holy moly. And one of them was Desmond Ritter's fault.
Yeah.
Well, really, both of them were. No, because one of them was a bad snap.
No, yeah.
And the other one was ball security, yeah. But then Drake London, that one where he landed on the top of his head.
And he was forcing the ball down, and then there was everybody trying to debate whether or not.
Yeah, is it a touchdown? Is it a touchback? Is it down at the one? That was the most stressful thing I've ever watched football. But the Falcons won. They're number one in the division. They now have the same record as the Bills, so I'm happy. Mm-hmm. The Falcons have a couple of easy games coming up, so I think that they could really take a lead in this division, assuming they play well the next couple of weeks. But the Bucs look decent, too. Only scored 13 points.
Bijan didn't play.
Yeah, he was sick.
I wish we knew that before the game.
I wish we knew that, too, because I bet money on Bijan Robinson, which is the only reason.
These are people's livelihoods here you're playing with.
I went negative by like $2 because Bijan didn't play. That's the only, if Bijan, because I parlayed that with several other things and everything else hit. All I needed was Bijan to play because the number of touches were there for the running backs. It just didn't go to Bijan because he didn't play.
You know how many times Algier touched it, dude? Oh my goodness.
Got a lot of grips on that. The same with CP, and they wouldn't have given the ball to CP more than twice the game if Bijan Robinson had been playing. But either way, they need to just say when a player is going to be hurt and not play, or sick, or have a headache, or whatever it may be. They need to say that. Right. Even if it's an hour before the game, they still need to tell us that.
Yeah.
Because then the onus is on you if you want to take the risk of playing him in fantasy or betting money on him or whatever. Right. But you don't say anything, and it's the end of the game when you find out that Bijan wasn't feeling well and that's why he didn't play. It's like, well, what the hell why didn't you tell me that?
Yeah, no,
why didn't I know about that? As someone who's a Falcons fan who plays Bijan in fantasy and bets on him, why did I not know and get the chance to either win some money or lose based on my shitty bets? didn't even get the chance. And it's like I get my money refunded because he didn't play.
I get that it's the NFL and you want to maybe hide your secrets for the game or whatnot.
But you have to, like, the injury report is there for a reason. So you have to list the players that aren't playing so you don't do shit like this.
Obviously, we hope Bijan is healthy and whatnot and feels better. But
I don't think he should have played if he wasn't feeling well. I just want to have known.
They played him one snap for 3 yards.
Yeah, they just...
That was just dumb. If he's sick, why would you play
I think they did that to avoid getting in trouble for not putting him on IR. Because if they didn't play him, then it would be a violation of he's sick, he's not playing, you didn't put him on IR or on the injury report.
That's actually a good point.
And they played him for one snap at the end of the game, so that way they couldn't say, oh, well, he was sick and didn't play because he played one snap. We just decided the scheme of this week wasn't to play him. Obviously, we know he was sick, but that's what they could say to get out of playing a fine, which is exactly what it was, I think. But
yeah, it's probably
regardless, the Falcons' defense played incredibly, holding the Bucs to only 13 points. It's not like the Bucs have one of the best offenses in the league, but Baker Mayfield's been playing his ass off. Mike Evans and Chris Godwin have been great. Rashad White was playing great the game too, but 13 points is fantastic. The Falcons' defense... Scotty Miller cooking up his own team was beautiful. A 53-yard bomb from Desmond Ridder to Scotty Miller was one of the most beautiful things I have ever seen this season of the NFL, and I loved it. But moving on to the Steelers-Rams game, the Steelers won 24-17. The Steelers are now 4-2.
A little upset about this game.
I was too. I thought the Rams...
But for different reasons.
Well, I just think it's odd that now the Rams are healthier, they're losing more games.
So here's the thing. They cut Brett Maher.
Yeah.
They cut his
yeah, because Brett Maher sold the game like he did last year for the Cowboys.
Like, how do you missed 2 extra points and 2 field goals,
which would have won in the game.
Yeah, like that's the difference between winning and losing right there.
Yeah, it's Brett Maher.
I would cut him too.
I don't consider this a huge loss for the Rams offense because of that. And missing that many in one game is just ridiculous.
That's 4 kicks missed.
But the Steelers offense putting up 24 points is a lot for Matt Canada.
Yeah,
and Matt Canada.
I mean, it was kind of expected
garbage.
This game. It was I don't know. I think it was expected this game that
Why did you expect Matt Canada to call a good play?
Not Matt Canada, but that this game would be high scoring for a reason. I had the over.
But it didn't hit.
Would have Brett Maher fucking kicked the ball.
Yeah, it would have, but Brett Maher sucks.
Definitely would have.
You gotta keep in mind the kicker for the team whenever you're betting on these things, Gian. You gotta remember that
he was the number 2 in fantasy. I picked him up in all.
Doesn't mean much because you can miss if you just get a lot of attempts.
You're right. You're right about that. But here's the thing: the Rams get a lot of attempts.
But the thing is, Brett Maher was only on the Rams because he missed like 8 field goals in one game last year. That's the only reason he was even on the Rams.
There's always one game out of the year that Brett Maher.
And I'm not betting, and so I'm never going to bet on it because I'm scared that game will be the one that I bet on. But yeah, the Rams 3-4 now. Their wild card spots are obviously not out of the question, but it's looking like they're going to slip a little bit since they're now negative. The Steelers still doing well. I mean, the division
how they're positive, I don't know.
The division is tough now because there's 2 4-2 teams and 1 5-2 team. The AFC North is looking like they're going to take full control of the AFC if they keep this up. Good for the Steelers,
but not. I don't want to say full control because like they're barely skating by.
There's still multiple games ahead of any other team.
That's true, but they're barely skating by. They're getting lucky. This game, they got lucky.
Doesn't matter, though. Winning is winning.
You're right.
Your record is what matters when it comes to
playoffs. They will get stomped on.
I'm not saying they're going to go on a run in the playoffs. I'm saying they're going to make the playoffs. Like, the Steelers having 4 wins and only 2 losses. The Steelers having twice as many wins as losses when they have literally the worst performing offense in the last 2 years in NFL history, but they're 4-2 is ridiculous.
Makes no sense.
Yes.
They're going to go on a losing streak.
And the Browns being 4-2, having lost their quarterback and their running back, who's one of the best in the league, for the entire season, and Deshaun Watson only played like 2 games.
And he's out now.
And he's out again, for concussion. The fact that they're 4-2 is ridiculous. Yeah. So, I don't know how the hell they're pulling this out of their ass, but other teams are just not.
I know how the Browns pulled that one out of their ass.
Myles Garrett. That's how they did it.
I was going to say the referees.
Well, Myles Garrett... Yeah, the referees, but that's a separate video. But Myles Garrett is also a just absolute menace.
Unit.
He is a menace on the football field. Myles Garrett.
I would wear his jersey.
Oh, Myles Garrett. I would feel kind of disrespect. I would feel like I'd disrespecting him if I wore it.
You're right.
Just because I can't ever live up to what he does and the impact he makes.
Shout out Myles Garrett.
Shout out Myles Garrett.
Oh yeah, he's great.
Seahawks Cardinals.
Nothing to write home about. Boring game.
Yeah, 20-10.
Too much back and forth.
Seahawks won. Kind of expected. They're 4-2 now.
Cool. Moving on.
Packers Broncos, a 19-17 finish for the Broncos win.
And this is after the Packers were down like to 0 at the half.
Yeah, well the thing is, last week we both bet on the Packers, but we both said I feel like this is a game that the Broncos are going to win because it seems like they're kind of being set up for not a run but a couple of wins, and they got the win. So
yeah, So we gave you guys the Packers pick, and then funny enough, we bet against it. But that's another thing. Because we look, here's the thing. Ethan and I sniffed out some debauchery this week on part of Vegas and the NFL, but that's a separate thing.
That's the next video, so check that out because we'll be going over all that shit with evidence. We're not just going to talk out of our ass and bitch about our team losing. But moving on to one of the best games of the week. I loved it. It was one of my favorites. Was the Chiefs curb stomping the Chargers 31-17.
Yeah, no. So, what do you want me to say?
Justify it.
All right, I can't.
Oh, good. Finally, I'm glad you can.
The Chargers are not making the Super Bowl unless
they're 2-4.
They get rid of Brandon Staley and then make Kellen Moore the
problem is that the Chiefs, for the first time, have one of the best defenses in the league, and they still have one of the best offenses in the league.
They have an okay offense.
No, on paper, scoring.
Okay. So
no. I looked up the stats. Right. They're top 5, and they're 1 and 2 in most, and top 5 in the rest of passing yards, rushing yards, passing touchdowns, points per game, all of that shit. They're top 5 in every one of those stats.
You're correct.
Because I was on the same page as you. They had an okay offense. They've been performing better than we've been giving them credit for. The reason we haven't noticed it is because their defense has been the talk of the town for the Chiefs. But they have a top 5 offense and a top 5 defense, which just has not happened for them.
I just want to point out, though, the teams the Chiefs have been playing.
Yeah, you're going to go to this stupid-ass schedule shit?
Yeah.
You can say the same thing about the Dolphins.
You can. But I'm going to do it for the Chiefs.
And I'm going to do it I can do it for every team that has a bunch of wins. Like, they've all... Okay, here's the thing. Let me let you in.
Right.
Let me tell you a fun fact.
All right, give me a fun fact.
Whenever you beat a team and you get the win on your record, the other team gets a loss on their record. So naturally, the teams that you beat are going to have worse records because they get a loss on your record, and you get a win.
We're not going to bring this up then. I will say though, Chiefs have been playing great.
They have.
Chargers have not. Chargers are just. I don't know what's going on.
I'll be honest, I didn't expect the Chargers to be this. Obviously, we bet, and I bet the Chiefs are going to be better than the Chargers. I thought it was going to be a neck-and-neck horse race till the end of the season.
It's not looking like that.
Yeah, the Chargers have 4 less wins and 3 more losses.
So Herbert, of the draft class, has had the most losses out of anyone in his draft class so far, but he's been playing as good or better as quarterback.
Yeah.
As quarterback. Let me clear that out.
But he's been playing better.
He's been playing better, and it sucks for him.
The only one you could probably make a case for playing better is Joe Burrow, but his stats are skewed because he's missed.
Right, that's the only issue. But he's been on par with Tua. He's one of the top 5 quarterbacks this season.
I mean, and I would even probably say he's better than Tua, and maybe better than Joe Burrow, just because although they've been injured, that is a piece of it. Justin Herbert's been healthy. He missed a couple of games here and there, but he's been healthy.
And last year, he played through a punctured lung.
Tyrod Taylor couldn't do that. That's why Justin Herbert has his job.
Yeah.
Tyrod Taylor couldn't do it.
Not exactly punctured, but close there. Close enough.
And then moving on to your other team that got beat by the exact same score, funny enough, 31-17.
Who would have predicted that?
Someone and made $1 million off of it.
Did you see the Mondo parlay on the 49ers Vikings game? We have to check. I'll show you on BR Gridiron. But anyways,
the Eagles won.
I hated that game.
31-17.
Bullshit.
It's bullshit. I'm not a Dolphins fan, but it's bullshit.
Well, and not to mention, you guys struggled against their offense with no O-line. Everyone there was second or third string, and we lost our last first string in the beginning of the game. Tyreek Hill cooked you guys.
Yeah, he did.
He did.
I really don't think this means that if we see a Super Bowl matchup between these two, that the Dolphins are going to get shit on. I think they win.
I don't want to clear the air. Everyone's giving shit against the Dolphins, saying that we played easy teams. I don't think so. Yeah, we played a couple easy teams. Don't get me wrong.
Well, naturally, like I said, if you're winning, then your opponents are losing. That has to happen. The Chiefs have 6 wins, but that means they've given 6 teams losses.
Yeah.
And that has to happen. Your record is nearly always going to be better than the person you're playing if you're winning. That happens.
The Eagles, you almost lost to the Patriots, and they're way worse than the Dolphins. The Vikings, they have no defense. The Bucs, you got lucky. The Commanders bitch-slapped you guys.
Overtime, barely won.
Rams, that was a disappointment. I want to see refs on that one too.
And then they lost to the Jets. Jets.
You guys got lucky.
Yeah, I don't think the Eagles
and the referees. Look. It's Sunday night. Everyone wanted to see the Dolphins lose. Nobody wants to see the Eagles.
I just want to point out that there were 10 penalties against the Dolphins that game,
Not
and
a
0 against
one.
the Eagles. And it was really funny is watching clips back of like very blatant penalties afterwards that they just didn't call on the Eagles. The refs clearly want them to do well. I think that they're trying to mooch off of they're thinking, okay, well, an Eagles player and Jason Kelsey's brother's girlfriend is Taylor Swift and is bringing attention to the NFL. So because Taylor Swift's boyfriend's brother is on the Eagles, they have to win too. I don't know if that's what it is, but for whatever reason, they wanted the Eagles to win that game. So they did. And then Monday Night Football was the 49ers versus the Vikings, which is relatively a clean game. There weren't like egregious ref calls on either side. The Vikings just won 22-17, which is a shock to most people. The Niners now fall to 5-2, still a very impressive record and one of the best in the NFC, one of the best in the NFL. But the Vikings now, as a 3-4 record, are kind of knocking on the door of a wild card spot because they were out of it very early. But now they're finding a way to get some wins. Their defense played their ass off, played extremely well this game, and could the Vikings go on a little run here? I mean, the NFC wildcard spots are not looking that good. No, like one of the wildcard.
There's plenty of spots open.
Yeah, the last spot is the Bucs at 3-3. The Vikings are 3-4. It's a half a game difference that they have right now. If the Vikings go win next week and the Bucs lose, they have the wildcard spot now. And especially with they have a bye week coming up.
And what I like about this too, Ethan, is if the Vikings are looking like they can make a wild card spot, we might see Jay Jettis come.
Oh yeah, I think he will if they make the playoffs. Yeah.
Yeah, and why not take advantage of that?
Right. Yep.
Why not?
Yeah, 100%.
On a hope and a dime.
Yeah. But yeah, this is a good game to watch all around. Brock Purdy struggled. Christian McCaffrey struggled. Jordan Addison popped off. Had a fantastic game. He really stepped into the role that people thought he was going to be, which is filling Adam Thielen's shoes of being able to be that go-to guy when Justin Jefferson can't be there.
He's a must-start, set it and forget it wide receiver every week at this point.
Yeah, until Jay Jettis comes back, because then we have to see what the target. Well, you don't know what the target share is going to be when that happens. Like Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp have not both played well in the same game. It's been one or the other.
Yeah. That is true.
So
Puka took off.
Yeah, this week it was Puka.
Oh, did you see that reception by Puka?
I did.
Double coverage, tiptoe. He was so good. I like Puka.
Yeah, I like Puka too. It kind of sucks Cooper Kupp came back because now Puka's not going to pop off and have the 2,000-yard season that he was slated to have just because Cooper Kupp's there. But obviously Cooper Kupp being back is never a bad thing. He's fun to watch, good guy, and go Rams. But thank you guys for watching. Check out the next video. You might be wondering why we didn't talk about the Colts Browns. It's because that's going to be talked about in the next video where we talk about the NFC, not the NFC, the NFL being rigged. So come check that out.
And we have a lot to say, not just about that game, but a bunch of games this past weekend and kind of our expectations for next. So keep an eye out for that one.
Close this out.
Stay frosty, my friends. One finger this time.